Saturday.
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome everybody again. This is our third session of this new series of the Biodiversity and Livelihood Collective. We are happy to have you here with us, and we have a special guest today that you already know, but I have this pleasure to introduce you to Eda Elif Tibet. But first, I want to let you know that today we're going to be talking about how to design impact through affective multimodalities. Today's session is divided in two parts. The first part, Elif is going to be sharing insights from her field work on producing participatory documentary films, on running film screening programs, building alliances, and designing impact through media campaigns. During the second part of the session, we will do an exercise. You will be invited to map your own ecosystems, your own communities, teams, partners, donors, stakeholders, media partners from traditional and social media. And you will be asked to reflect on how to activate and mobilize your own stories for change. Elif will explain later again that you need to share your email in the chat, so she will be able to send you an invitation for the Miro that we will be using, but this is for the second part of the session. Okay, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Eda Elif Tibet. She is an award-winning documentary filmmaker and visual anthropologist. She is a postdoctoral researcher at University of Bern, where she leads her own independent applied research initiative, Animating the Commons, hosted at the Critical Sustainability Unit. Eda holds a Swiss National Science Foundation-funded PhD in Social Anthropology from University of Bern 2019 and a master from the University of Kent. She was recently recognized to be a trailblazing engaged anthropologist by the Swiss Anthropology Association. So welcome, Elif, and now I hand it over to you.
Thank you, Marcos. I think everybody knew me here already, but thank you so much for introducing. And I will just share my screen. I will try to present this shortly. I think we're starting a little late, like about 14 minutes. So don't know, maybe we can try to, yeah, let's see how it goes. But I think most important is that people have the chance to do the exercise, because I think that's going to be very interesting and fun. And can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Yes. So I will quickly explain to you the content. The content you see is actually a methodology that it taken me quite a while. It took me since 2015. I've been working on this. So it was part of my PhD and also part of the work we do as Karma Motion together with Inanch, and also with other creatives and people within my ecosystem that I will share with you who these people are. So I realized that I am not only doing visual anthropology, but I do a lot more in terms of films and videos. There's so much to it. And I will explain to you what multimodality means. How do we bring in affection into it? And why does it work, in my opinion? And what co-creation means, sorry for the typo, that I think it is in that co-creative part that you design impact together, and it's not something you do solo or able to do by your own. And then how building alliances and, you know, what we also call it unorthodox coalitions here at the Critical Sustainability Institute, where I do all this research and applied research, and how that is connected to the mapping exercise. So you will be able to realize your alliances and coalitions that you actually are functioning, but maybe you never thought about them that way. And then how we actually influence through our narratives and discourses that we come up for justice, and how is transformation possible? How do we shift paradigms as like an ultimate ideal? So that's like a big vision, being able to shift paradigms through storytelling. So here I now go to the, yeah, so you can check everything that I do together with my friends and different stakeholders. I put them all under this applied research initiative, which is hosted at the university. It's called Animating the Commons. So the methodology that I'm proposing is that we need affection in whatever we do. It is very important, especially in a world where there's so much injustice. So it is about being guided by compassion, values, and in this common ideal of realizing dreams for a common good. And multimodalities means we go against the status quo, and for be able to go against the status quo that we're not happy with, we have to be thinkers out of the box. And in my opinion, it is very useful to break disciplinary silos. And co-creation is about designing impact together, building alliances, and with the unorthodox coalition. So who do you co-create with? Multimodality is actually an interdisciplinary approach that understands communication and representation to be more than about language. It is being developed over the past decade and intends to systematically address very debated questions about changes in society, and more in relation to new media and technologies that we are all part of, and becoming much, much more part of our lives. So here, multimodality could be anything from designing a website, working on infographics, animations, illustrations, painting, poetry, music, theater, festival creation, event making, because even events, you have to create them, so they're very artistic in a sense. And there is like a science behind also in engaging various stakeholders, audiovisual recordings, soundscapes, desktop documentaries, documentary films, videos, podcasts. I mean, you name it. The list goes on and on. And what I mean by all of these doesn't mean that you should be doing all of this, but you could be collaborating and co-creating together with people who are doing these things, and you could see where are you most inclined towards. So everything counts where you get a message across. And what I mean by affection and how does this come together with multimodality, I build, of course, on mostly on post-colonial thought and on the idea of transformation. And I borrow a lot of concepts and theories and thinking and epistemologies from various authors. I don't think we will have the time, but especially the Jungian psychoanalytical ideas of working through dreams and realizing dreams, I find very fascinating. And in order to do so, my action research ethos tells me that I should, whatever I'm doing, or producing knowledge or making stories, I should be supporting people's liberation movements. So people's liberations from being heavily categorized, controlled, regulated by oppressive regimes and systems, like in cases like mobile pastoralists, people living on the margins, indigenous tribes, refugees who are really subjected to injustices and violence, systematic violence. So it really helps to first understand and map the discursive media constructions around them, and then try to come against counteracting to those discourses by actually showcasing individuals and collectives' personal and collective responses, life worlds, talents, everything that actually argues against such categorizations. And of course, in relation to their own political assemblages, oftentimes marginalized groups or people who are subjected to violence are seen as people apolitical or people who cannot participate, which is true. A major difference between a refugee and a citizen is the ability to vote. And the ability to remain and stay somewhere. Of course, there's many more other, but that apoliticization of the individual is another issue to look at, and not to deny that anything you produce, a story, an art form, is a political act. So that is very important to highlight. And so to be able to manifest and highlight stories that are in their own actions of affect and in their own media mediation practices. So representation wise, it is very important that people have their own agency to actually tell their stories. And an ultimate aim and common goal of achieving our dreams from individual to collective. And we can use multimodalities as tools to produce and engage beyond academic, institutional, and violating hierarchies. All this work is coming within my book, which is part of my PhD study that was funded by the Swiss National Science Foundation. This has become a true antithesis to where I did the study, because I did not follow their guidelines. I completely did my own thing, and it was quite a big risk. I took a huge risk. And you will see that the PhD book will be published together with the young Somali asylum seeker who was part of the study. And not only, but he also becomes a co-author. And I will tell you why it is very important to share authorship with the people you are co-creating. Another ideal of mine is Bell Hooks, and I follow her teachings and writings on radical love, as well as I got a lot of inspiration from Gayatri Spivak's Unlearning and Frantz Fanon's books. I read almost all of them, and so I can say like affective multimodalities is a methodology that is borrowing a lot from these very prominent figures' writings on liberation of the humankind. So what do we mean by co-creation? Co-creation is really the place where you are designing impact together. You come together for a reason. And it is not just about, oh, we come together because we like each other. It's very important to like each other. But I think you come together with certain people because you're sharing a common cause. And, you know, as activists, I think you can all relate to that, that there is an intentionality behind producing such work. So multimodality can be, you have a product, you have a process, and you are segmenting that according to a lot of different audiences. So for instance, with Abdidek, we wrote a book, which is for an academic audience, and also for lots of other practitioners who do not necessarily need to be anthropologists. And then we have also directed our attention towards outreaching publications to general audiences. So we did collaborate with, you know, this European Cultural Foundation in a publication that was read heavily by young asylum-seeking youth, and there was like an event in the Royal British Institute in Tate at the Thames River, you know, in South Bank, and we've been there. So a lot of engagements through this, from publications to actually sharing, and then exhibitions. So because the work is very much on photography and radio in a very multimodal way, it was also possible to exhibit the study from the perspective of Abdidek, and even to have media's attention. So this wide scope of outreach happened because we were very multimodal, and we were very affectionate with the way we approached the matter, which was migration. And it was really about the dreams of young people and how they were feeling stuck and they start again. So the exhibition was called Erase and Rewind, that they have to constantly define themselves erasing and rewinding. A similar story with my one of my good friends, Lotte Namling, who I met in Bern many years later. And we do things together. We write articles for the American Anthropologist, which will be published soon in the multi-modalities section, as well as we organize a concert as part of our film festival, and we make a lot of music videos. So you see the variety. I think the key is really the variety. Or this recent short film we did with a genocide survivor from Zimbabwe, who is a PhD student at the same time, a psychologist, who wanted to raise awareness about how people cope with historical trauma. And we did a second version of this film this year with Chinese, French, Swiss, other filmmakers, PhD students, which I was the trainer. And the first film we called Soul Wound, and the second we called Soul Stitching. And we learned that we will be receiving an award at the Global Science Film Festival this April. But I forgot to share the other poster. And then all these documentary films, again, co-creations with the communities, with the leaders, the pioneering changemakers of these communities, which then inspired also making second story, second chapter. So a film is always, it's never complete. You always have to go back or improve or do something or learn. You learn something and you add on to it. So after my first film, 28 Days on the Moon, that I did in my village, we go back again to the village in Cappadocia together with Inanj. And we did this other film, which we never really published because we got so busy with doing other films. So we hope to also release this film one day properly. But the good thing is this film enabled to build more closer relationships and bondings with the community. And it's an incredible story of mythologies around vineyard keeping and pigeon guano maintenance, and that sentient relationship that I study during my Mphil at Kent. And I asked my friend to make illustrations about that sentient ecology, which we are now using to design packagings for local cooperatives, a little bit like what Gary and MBLA does in Morocco. So we are trying to do this, but the process is going slow because we are very busy with other films. So one by one, hopefully, and I'm also learning more and more to delegate and mentor young people. So I'm hoping to reach out to young Turkish people who would like to carry on with this project, which is called Fairy Dust. And I can tell you about the story another time. I know that we will run out of time, so I will try to stop in 5 minutes the presentation so we can do the exercise. But you can see how we are using films, photography, website design, package design, all together, various people. Inanch is always somewhere in my life. He comes and goes, and he's very, very prominent and inspiring for me. And we've done these photography shoots many years ago, which are still being used by the local cooperatives in selling their products. There's so much that is awaiting for us to do. And obviously we want to empower local communities. And then from that local, ecological, environmental, community-driven films and work, I'm very much continuing to work on shifting narratives around migration by showcasing extremely talented individuals among them, like a story about Syrian people, a story about my Congolese friend in Istanbul, and I use music, ethnomusicology, also as part of creating a universal language in shifting the narratives. And I am trying to trace the impact of these two films because it did have noble impact on the individuals whose films were made of. On Maisa's case and Enzo's case, I can tell you more about how the films we did together changed our lives, including mine. But that's another very long story. And also how it did actually have political impact, like especially in their asylum cases and in their way to citizenship in both cases. So even a little story can have a tremendous impact politically. So these are really incredible case studies, and I would love to share them with you on other occasions. And now coming more towards what we do with GDF, we've been very active documenting and visibilizing changemakers in both programs at the Global Environmental Summer Academy and at the High Atlas Cultural Landscapes programs. And you will see these images that we took together with Inanç, especially in trying to promote and spread the motto and the vision, which is we collude with changemakers to create flourishing environments and communities. So this is our guiding vision statement, that whatever we do is about, transforming fear into courage, and be brave is another guiding star of GDF's ethical thing. And you see how this little presentation is trying to manifest the flourishing of the environment and the change makers in creating a better world. And so we did numerous impact videos, which you know about, or we did collaborative storybooks that aim to manifest and showcase the incredible stories to donors in reportings, or the recent film we did together with GDF and as Karma Motion, of how now we're going to see the impact of what these awards and this new TV broadcasting is going to show us. How is that going to look like? What will it mean in the case of mobile pastoralists? What will this little single story have to change? We are still yet to see, because it is a very long process. And images can be much more powerful sometimes than words. And then here is another gathering we had at the film screening of Aytata with Louisa, Pom, Tasnim, or these conversation events. So those are very multimodal. The Common Story film, which we embarked together with the Alliance that GDF is part of, and the new film is coming. And this is even a wider co-creative collaborative project, I need to say. I skipped this one. And the Home for Humanity film, which is a movement building initiative that I'm part of, founding member of. And I will tell you also how does that connect, again, the film work to a movement building work to the festival, Ethnokino, which mobilized us towards India. This Friday, I'm going to India because we've been invited by Dalai Lama's sister to actually inaugurate Dalai Lama's sister's work as part of the Home for Humanity movement, which also gives us the chance to meet His Holiness the Dalai Lama next Monday, which I'm extremely excited. And this is incredible because this was something I was dreaming, and I did share this part already last summer in Gesa. And can you believe it? Like, we had Dalai Lama's picture there, and now it's coming true. But of course, I just don't have the time to actually tell you also about the film festival and what we mean by it. So I come to the exercise part now. So designing impact is really about mapping the media constructions, from a media perspective, the things that you're not appreciative of, and then showcasing the counteractive individual collective responses towards, which are your unique stories of change. And I made my own mapping. Here you see all the stakeholders, the people that I work with, and who are somehow enabling the work and enabling these stories to mobilize and to have an impact in the world. I shared the link with you so you can always have a look back. So when I think of from the initiatives that I'm part of, I am and we are truly dedicated to visionaries and pioneering storytellers across the globe. The intention is to become an international action community of practice and we work towards systematic change through the power of authentic and meaningful storytelling. And this initiative intends to create a nourishing, influential movement for societal cohesion and to enact integral transformation for planetary impact. So you can see how the kind of products that are actually processes and progresses in order to touch upon ecological, social, or mobility justice through each story case. And you are not changing anything in an instant. Also, it is very important to, you know, be aware of it, but you are influencing, mobilizing, activating, enabling, which are also amazing things to be, to be part of. And building alliances is at the heart of it. You know, you construct one stone by one stone, and you put the stories into spaces, and you see the connections of them. And this is all comes with the idea that life is a common experience, is our commons, and the knowledge and the stories we create should be for recognition, visibility of the people we are serving or are driven by. And you know, so visibilizing is very important. Don't just do theory for academics, but for transformation, mobilizing the local and the global, this constant micro macro engagement, and being open source, being achievable, accessible, and working in the back of your mind that you are seeing the systemic level of the things we need to fix. So now we come to the mapping activity. We have 25 minutes. And so in this activity that I shared the Miro board with you, I would like you to now go into this board. We can go into breakout rooms, or we can also stay in one place as you wish. And in case we stay here, I'm wondering how could that look like. So I just stop sharing, and I know now that I should be giving access also to Nessie so she can take part. Nessie, if you're there, it would be very handy if you shared quickly your email address on the chat, and I'll send you an invite.
Thanks, Elif. I've got to actually go and have another call in 5 minutes, but I just wanted to join and say hello to everyone and listen to your presentation, which I loved. So I'm really sorry. It's just a crazy busy week.
I
so
know.
I'll jump on another call.
No problem then.
Joining, but thanks so much, Elif.
And I can show you a little bit what we are intending to do here. So I'm inviting now everyone to have a look at this Miro board, where you can try to see, you know, I have GDF here at the center, but it's fine because, you know, everyone here are members, so you are again members. So you can see, maybe you can include, you know, the most important partners for you in your work. So say, who's the funder? Who are the NGOs you're collaborating with? What is your NGO called? The networks you are part of, the movements you are part of. And the idea is to create a collective map, a collective ecosystem map, as, you know, as a whole group. So I would say, do try to think of and private also connections, collaborations. And then here are some, you know, ideas of what could be the stories, what forms of stories you could have, like toolkits, op-ed signs, Insta-Reels, doc films, videos, many other things are possible. And you see here is a template that you can also then copy paste for your own afterwards, like if you would like to do this also individually. And here there are some sticky notes for, you know, what kind of impact you're imagining and change. Obviously, I know that it needs more time than here. But here I invite you to create a collective map of the people you're thinking of, because they will be the audience and they will be the people you will be also maybe co-creating together with. And we can talk about, about the details later. But I would say now, maybe, Marcus, what do you think? Should we do this in groups of 2 to 3 people, or should we stay here?
I think it's better if we stay here and we learn how to use this tool all together. I think considering time and that we are actually just 11 participants, maybe we can do it here together.
Okay.
What do you
so
think?
Basically, if you want to add something, you just copy paste the circle, and then you can zoom in, and you can write here, for instance, what was your university in Germany? Munich? No.
Marburg.
Marburg. But also, I mean, the idea is not that you write everybody you know in your lifetime, but it is about the people, institutions that have been pivotal, that have been supportive, or you've been collaborating with, or you have something to do with, you have a project together, or the movements that you're part of. For instance, I've been part of welcoming refugees movement. I'm part of the Home for Humanity movement. And why we're doing this is because we're a network. What I'm part of will also directly, indirectly have an effect on you, because you are connected to me. And this will allow us to see how we can expand our stories. Say, for instance, Marco shares a story, comes to me, from me goes to all these people, that you are aware the ecosystem, where the kind of broad ecosystem we're all dwelling in. And this may then help us maybe at another workshop or at another time to strategize what are the right, product stories, progresses to actually communicate. So mapping the system is very important, because then you know what to share when, to whom, with whom, if it makes sense. And also, if you have questions, please do ask. But you see, for instance, like another example, Ballad for Syria film, I would not be able to do if I did not get a grant from Goethe Institute, which gave us a seed grant. And I would not be able to do if I did not meet Enzo before. And I wouldn't meet Enzo if I didn't meet this and if I didn't meet that. So those connectivities are what brought us here today together. And I found in my life it's worthwhile mapping them, because even like reading a book of Fanon, as it has an impact on me, will have an impact on you because of our engagements. So we're trying to see how are we using the space, this common space, and then we could strategize at another point. What is the common thing we are all working towards? So here, in case of GDF, the vision statement has been recollued with changemakers to create flourishing environments of communities. Of course, I can imagine this is different for each one of you. You have much specific interest topics, and that's why you can make this mapping activity by yourself, also in relation to your own microcosmic. Rabia, you have a question?
Hi everyone, thank you Elif for your presentation. I would like just to ask if I don't know. I think I didn't receive an invitation mail to join Miro.
Oh, I can try again. I did send you one.
I didn't receive it. Thank you.
But maybe it might be in your spam folder.
No, there isn't. I already checked.
Okay, I'll do it again. So I've just sent you the invitation again, Rabia. Have a look. Hope it works. And also, if while you are working on it, if you want to comment, if you have questions, if it's not clear for you why we're doing this, please do let me know. Obviously, we needed more time. You can also write if you have ideas about the kind of impact. What are you willing to change in your work? Because I suppose what you're doing in your work is quite interesting for us to know, because you are also part of our, the idea is to support you in your work. So you see the relationality, right? We're more like kind of seeing the actor network theory kind of thing, right? We're mapping actors. Yeah.
There is one, Christian is asking in the chat, I seem not to have understood what we are doing in the mirror page. Please kindly explain again.
Of course. So, Christian, like I did share a bit of the media work that I've done together with GDF, as well as, in other, sharing other stories, other works, be it writing publications to making films, to taking photographs, to empowering individuals, musicians, and so on. You see, this multimodality, I can understand it may be a little bit confusing for some people, but the whole idea is breaking disciplinary silos. The whole idea is seeing these connectivities, this relationality behind stories and storytelling. And for me, I wouldn't be able to do all of this if I was not seeing the connections with the various actors that I was dwelling within. So I can, which is why I did share, for instance, the map that I did, but obviously I didn't really share it in detail. But here, for instance, when you look at my map, you see, for instance, I did my BA study at Bilgi University, which is, I took an Erasmus that connected me to University of Bern. And from the University of Bern, I met the CDE, Center for Development and Environment, which is connected to the Geography Institute also, which then sent me to India. And I did my first internship in India, Indian School of Business. So all of these, so I didn't have the time to actually show from one place to the other and to the other. But so this connections then took me to the stories. So the institutional connections I had took me to wider stories. And from India, I found myself at the University of Kent, where I met Inanj. Then I met Emily, then I met Gary, and then I found myself back in Bern, and which is then I started doing SNF related PhD study, and then all of a sudden, I finished the PhD. It wasn't all of a sudden, sorry, the PhD was finished, and then again I connected back with GDF, And with GDF, I got to hear and learn about MAVA Foundation, the Darwin Foundation, which are the two founders that then enabled us to make the films that we did with Inanj. Through this work, then I got access to another NGO here, which is called Collaboratio Helvetica. Through Collaboratio Helvetica, now I have more access to philanthropists like Hirschman, Paul Schiller, Wegweiser, Mercator. So I'm accessing also more money, and seeing that mobility, seeing that connectivity, mapping the institutions I navigate through and the individuals is all part of the co-creation process. So the co-creation process is not just you and your team. Actually, you are co-creating with so many others. So it is very important that you are aware of your ecosystem that makes you that makes all of this possible. And then it also helps to see, how are they situated. So there is philanthropy, there's academia, there are the public institutions, there are the movements, because not everything is money and funding. Sometimes you are part of a movement, it gives you so many resources, which then allows you to have other exposures here or elsewhere. Like media is the same thing. We think of social media today as something we need to do just for outreach, but hey, actually media is your partner, right? Is an ally. So if you're mindful of it, then you can be more selective and you can be more strategic in how you're telling your stories for change. Sorry, maybe that was a very long answer, but is it any more clearer, Christian, why we're mapping our ecosystems?
Yeah, Elif, thank you so much for your presentation and the explanation that you've given. My main worry now after getting your explanation, not all of us are versed with using this mirror. So if you could direct us on how to use this mirror to put the information you want us to put.
Of course. Are you, I don't see you are, yeah, you are in. So it is very basic. When you click the link, you come to the board. With your mouse, you will be able to zoom out and zoom in. And when you get a distance where you can actually see what's happening, you can basically copy one of these actors, like these circles, copy, and then just paste and create your own, fill in your own text to enlarge them. So like now here I am at media. So I've written here, we've written here Karma Motion. And in your case, maybe there is a media group that you collaborate with. Do you have a media group or a TV channel or a newspaper that you're always in touch back in your country? If not, I mean, I can say XX for now, and you can think through. So basically you go on the circle, you click, you copy, and then you paste, and you can keep multiplying. And you could think of the networks that you're part of. You can think of the movements that you're, for instance, the movement. For instance, I'm part of Refugees Welcome movement, which was very active during 2015. There's the climate strike, Extinction Rebellion, which maybe some of us are. For instance, the private, Janan Thompson is a great example of that. It's a private institution, but it's not entirely, because it is mobilizing so many other resources towards our work, into GAN, into GDF. Then this also helps us to see, it helps us to see where our partners are situated at, how are they defined, but then you also get to see how they're mobilizing and are part of our work. And which wouldn't have been possible without their contributions. Members would be all of us, all the GAN members. So I could easily put here Marcos, I can put here Rabia.
Elif, I have a question.
Yes.
Once I think it's a really powerful tool. I can imagine if you are co-creating with a bigger group of people like us in different countries, very far away, you can really co-create and put together many a lot of information and make it really participative. But what do you do when you are finished? Can you use it? Can you export it and share it, or can you print it? What are the uses?
So my idea is, we continue this work if you like it. We come back to it in our spare time. Everybody includes, and maybe if people are inspired, you can do one board especially just for Marcos, so we can see Marcos's ecosystem. I can do one for Elif's ecosystem. But you will see, at the end of the day, you will see it also makes sense to do a collective one, because we are now a community. We're called Global Environments Network. So everything that GDF does, you will have access to, right? Like, for instance, most of you had the chance to be at Gesta during Oxford, so you are now having a connection to Oxford. This then for some of the members did connect them to Schumacher, so I would add this on behalf of Pooja and Davi here, right? Because we are like bees and we keep pollinating, we keep adding new things. And so what we could do is, if we worked on our map and we shared this through WhatsApp with all the other members, then we could really come up with a big map of how we are situated within the ecosystem. And then obviously I'm realizing it is not easy for us to now see, oh, here's a story, here's a product, let's share this through this channel, and then we create this impact. That we need time again. But I just wanted to show you that there's a connection to how you disseminate your outreach stories aligned to who you're talking to. Like, it's just for your awareness of your own system.
Yes, great.
So yes, then we can, once we finalize this, we can share among all of us, and we can meet again and talk again, brainstorm. What do we want to do with this map? How do we want to mobilize it? How do we activate it? For instance, you didn't know that we had connections to Arte, right? Maybe you have a story and you want, met someone about in Arte or something, and you can seriously support each other. The idea is to become an action community of practice, basically, even if we are living in different continents.
Exactly. There is one question Gary wants, and then we are running out of time, sadly. But Gary, welcome.
Yeah, well, thank you, Marcos, and fantastic, Elif. We've got a lot of things to do together, as you know. We'll continue doing them, and we'll announce them to the GEN community quite soon. I would like to say that on that Miro board, there is an export. I think you all saw that, and you can export it as a PDF, etc. But I think more importantly than exporting it, I think Nessie loves to do mind maps. And mind maps, I think, are kind of like, I think Miro board are mind maps for those of us without such artistic skill. You see what I mean? Is that we are able to conceptualize things on a Miro board. The exporting can be done physically like a PDF, but it can be done mentally as like, this can feed into a theory of change. This can feed into a proposal. This allows you to assemble and think about the elements. Like, instead of just sitting down to a blank page and saying, who are my partners? Think about that dynamically. How did I meet them? Where did they come in? How are they connected? And so I just wanted to bring that up, that I find Miro boards to be a very creative way to do mind mapping, and then of course doing mind mapping collectively, which gives you a very good tool to not just sit in front of a paper yourself, but to construct this as a collective. So I just wanted to add those thoughts quickly, knowing that we're running out of time.
Thanks, Gary. Is there any other comment or question before we close it for today? Sadly, it's the time it's not enough, Elif, to share everything you want to share.
Yeah, not at
It's
all.
really interesting.
I think what I would finally like to say is that you see the connectivity of the stories that you tell is really part of the ecosystem that you navigate through. So, for instance, we wouldn't be able to tell stories in the High Atlas if Gary Martin and Marianne did not establish Janan Tamsna, or things like that, or we wouldn't have access to communities if then MBLA did not come into place. So it is very important to know your, to be aware of your ecosystem in terms of your, and once you map it, you will then understand why you're doing, how you're doing, and why you should be doing. Does it make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. It makes sense. I think we could really think to do sometime in the future another collective exercise, maybe to think how to design our own biodiversity and livelihood collective, or if we want to design a common campaign or a common project, it could be really a powerful and really useful tool. Yeah.
Because, you know, oftentimes people ask me, how do I do a communications campaign? How do I improve my media skills? I always ask them, what is your intention, right? Why do you want to tell these stories? In my case, I am aware of each and every story I'm working on, why I'm doing, with whom I'm doing, who are the people around. I'm so aware of it that helps me strategize, and that doesn't come in the cost of my creativity. It doesn't come in the cost of my authenticity. So being aware is actually very good from the beginning. So now this activity will allow you to think, okay, what is the story I need to tell? Or why am I telling this story? For whom? Because it doesn't make sense. We make an Instagram post and we're done. No. Why are you doing that post? Who do you want to read? What kind of people? And you know, when you map, you know that it is likely you're going to be in the radar of all these people. Because there's another thing we never talked about, artificial intelligence. And that works through algorithms. And there's so much in there that I couldn't share because of time, but everything you write in your Google, everything we did here has gone in the mind map of the algorithm, and that is going to influence again your engagement and exposure to others. It's incredible, this connectivity. But so thank you all for coming into this. And yes, please do write to me if you have questions, and if this exercise made sense, if it didn't make sense, I'm very happy to tell you more about it. And if you have particular ideas for telling stories of change, let me know. We can always brainstorm together.
Great. Thank you very much, Elif. That was great. And thank you, Christian, Glory, Rabia, Ascarsho, and everybody for joining today. I hope we see you again next week. We will have the opportunity to learn from Girma Kelboro Mensuro's experience with livelihood related research. So Elif, you are also kindly welcome if you want to join us. So we will leave it here for today. We ran out of time. Thank you very much and see you next week.
See you.
Bye-bye.